state your name and which role you're running for, that would be great.
My name is Emily Lane and I'm running for the Vice President of Welfare.
Superb. What drew you to the particular role?
For me, I'm on the primary school teaching course, so safety and welfare is a big thing in primary schools, and one area in particular is mental health, so I felt that was the better role for me out of all of them.
Superb. Dream scenario for you, Emily. What's the big aim if you were to succeed in this role?
Creating a positive experience at the university for every student, giving every student an opportunity to express themselves and feel that they can talk to anybody no matter what they're going through.
Superb. What's your perception of the union right now?
A very positive one. I've been heavily involved with the union, so I've been involved in its inner workings for quite a while, so I have been aware of the processes and I feel that it's time for me to take a bigger role in it. Superb.
How do you think it will change over this next year?
The union?
Yes.
I think the union it will just grow with what's happening within the world, so it's not necessarily that the union itself will that something will change drastically, but depending on outside events, the union will grow and adapt with those events and will accommodate for all the students along with that.
Do you think the union should particularly change?
I don't feel like it should make any drastic changes, no, but I feel that in order for it to be successful, it has to evolve with the outside community.
Superb. How do you particularly deal with problems in a professional setting?
I always, depending on the problem at hand, whether it's with a student or another professional, I will consult. If I'm not sure about something, I will consult to make sure that I'm fully informed of everything. I will make sure that I document as much as possible to ensure that everything that I am doing is the correct procedure and that it follows the university policies and everything. I always ensure the safety of whoever is involved, making sure that there's no mental or physical distress to the participants. And yeah, just make sure that everything that can be done is done, and that nobody is left feeling like they've not been helped.
Superb. So if you're successful in the role that you're running for, you're going to be vastly in the limelight of the university. Your face is going to be on every poster, every screen. Everyone will know your name and who you are. How would you deal with that?
I think I'll deal with it as I deal with most things. It's not really going to affect myself as a person. I feel that people knowing who I am just makes it easier for them to contact me and communicate with me. In some cases it might not be, but I like to think that I'm an open person and I would like to convey that as much as possible through the role. Everybody knowing who I am, I don't see it as a issue. I've taken on more visible roles throughout the union in other aspects of committees and councils, so being more recognised isn't necessarily a bad thing for me. I just take what I can in my stride.
Superb. A little bit of a scenario for you now then.
Okay.
So a student who's in distress comes randomly up to you and starts berating their problem at you. It's not necessarily to do with what you are necessarily elected for. How would you deal with that?
If they were just randomly throwing loads of information at me, I'd ask them to just take a moment, take a deep breath, try and tell me calmly, or ask them to write it down so that there'll be a record of it, so then I can assess exactly what the problem is and who would be the best person to go to. If I'm not sure, then I will make sure that I speak to somebody, get another professional to help, because I do not it would be bad if I felt like I was the sole person to take this on, and having other people just to double check that I'm doing the correct thing, or making sure that I can give them the best help that they can, and send them to the right places. I don't want to assume that I've got the correct answer when I might not, so I would always make sure that it's documented, with it either being written down or them verbalising it to me, so then I can write it down later on as soon as possible. But I wouldn't promise confidentiality, because that might not, depending on the problem, might be something I can't promise. But I would definitely say to them, look, we'll try and sort this out. We'll get this done sorted as best as we can. I will let them know that I may have to pass it on to other people, because I can't promise them that I will be the only person who will see this.
Okay, cool. Switching gears a little bit. In your experience, what's the key thing to developing a good team?
Communication, definitely, because if you have asked somebody to do something and they promise to, but then for whatever reason they can't, they need to let us know. We need to make sure that everybody is doing the job that they are supposed to be doing, if they can do it. If they are not able to do it and somebody else can take over, then that is something that needs to be communicated to the team, and we need to ensure that everybody is doing the best that they can. And if an issue arises, whether that's a personal issue or a professional issue, everybody needs to be aware of it. It needs to just be communicated as effectively as possible.
Superb. What do you do to maintain trust amongst a team?
I think not promising anything that's unrealistic, so making sure that anything you have said you'll do, you can do and are able to do within a time frame. Making sure that you're doing things in manageable chunks, not trying to take on too much at once, and if you are struggling, telling people, because if you say you can do something and you're actually struggling to do it, then they're going to lose trust in you, because they think you're being unreliable when actually there's another issue going on. So just making sure that you're doing what you can do and not promising too much. Again,
another small scenario situation here. You get asked this a million times. Everybody always asks this question. Can you describe a time when you successfully persuaded another person to change his/her way of thinking or behaviour?
I think that would be, how deep can this, as much as possible? Okay. There was someone who mentioned that feminism was not an issue anymore, which I felt quite strongly. They made the point that women do not need any extra help, and I pointed out, but maybe in upper class voting, so like that sort of side of things, maybe not, but what about the women in other countries who are in forced marriages, or who are not allowed to drive, or who are not allowed to do specific things? And so we had a conversation around not just what they've experienced, and what about the bigger picture, what about the wider world, and it opened their eyes of, it's not as cut and dry as, the women can vote, that's fine now. There's a much bigger issue, and even now even in England there's still issues, and feminism isn't just about women, it's also about men with male domestic assault, female domestic abusers, and that kind of thing. That is also an issue. Feminism isn't just about women, it is about everybody, and bringing their attention to that side of it as well, because there's the stigma of manly men, and being a tough man, not showing your emotions, and it's so damaging to think that way. So we had a conversation about it, and I showed them some resources that I'd some like websites and like stories of there's obviously the most recent Johnny Depp Amber Heard scenario, where it's come to light there's actual recordings of her admitting to beating Johnny Depp, but for a couple of years people thought that Johnny Depp was abusing her. So it's like that wasn't around when I was talking to this person, but that would be an example I would now show them, and so it's just that idea of introducing them to another way of thinking, and they soon changed their mind after that conversation.
Beautiful. Switching gears again completely.
Yeah.
Tell me how you organise, plan and prioritise your work.
So I always look at when things are coming up. So how soon are things coming up, how urgent are they, and what's going to be a big thing to plan. So, for example, dissertation. It's a big assignment, but it's often later on in the year. We have assignments before that. So the way I prioritise, because this was last year for me, it wasn't. I'm not doing my dissertation this year, thankfully. But so the way I prioritised it I split it into sections. So I split the bigger project that was later on in the year up into littler sections, but prioritise the other assignments before those sections, so that those sections were done within a time period, but the assignments that were closer, so like the autumn semester, the assignments that I had there, they were my priorities, but then I was also doing this other little thing at the same time that was building up to the bigger thing of the dissertation. So I like to make sure that anything that's a big project, I've got time to do it and it's split up into sections, but anything that's more immediate I will prioritise if I need to.
Super. In your opinion, what takes precedence here at the university? Education or community?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I would say community, because education is all very well and you are obviously here for your education, but if you feel a lack of community, you may not be in here for education for very long. If somebody's struggling, they're not going. If someone's suffering, if someone's having mental health issues or is just stressed by their education, they might go to their lecturers for help, but they're more likely to go to their friends and to the community for support and to just take their mind off it just for a couple of hours. Having been on the committee for an interest society, I've seen that time and time again. People come to our society for the time out of their education just to sit and relax and have fun, and you meet so many people from different courses on those during those meets, that it's just the community of it I feel like it's more supportive and allows you to be able to just to get on with your education.
Super. Thank you. Final one. How do you sell your ideas to other people?
I try to make it to when I try to sell my ideas, I always try to make it as general as possible and apply to as many people as possible, because my view of this role is it is for every student, not just for the individuals, and each student is going through a different thing, so I try to make it as general as possible, and I'll give an example of a specific group, but it won't necessarily be a group that person is a part of. So it just shows them that I am thinking of not just them but other people as well, and it just shows them I try and convey that I'm thinking of everybody when I'm thinking about my ideas, and just give it more of a whole feel rather than sectioned feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. You'll be really glad to know that's the serious ones over. So you can take a breath, you can relax, smile a little bit more. These ones are really nice and fun. They're a little bit goofy. Just to open you up a little bit more so people understand who you are. Okay. Because we've seen the serious side, now let's see a little bit of a fun side. Do you understand what I mean? Yes. Great. So what's your favourite word?
Oh, my favourite word? Supper. Just because I like the way it sounds when you say it, supper. It just, I don't know, there's just something about it.
Brilliant. What's your least favourite word?
Deadline.
What sound or noise do you love?
I'm a musician, so I love musical instruments and I love the sound of I'm a classical musician, so classical music particularly, but I love all genres.
Brilliant. What sound or noise do you hate?
I hate the tissues tearing. It's very specific, but I can't. A tissue being torn, it just sends shivers down my spine.
Okay. What's your dream job?
My dream job, as a teacher, like working as a teacher, but in a very free and open classroom with the kids doing lots of exciting, fun activities all the time.
What job would you never like to do?
I wouldn't like I'm not very sporty, so sports. I like to play sports, but I don't think I'd like it as a job.
Superb. What stimulates you as a person?
Other people, just like having the social aspect with other people, and just having connections, and just having fun with other people, I think.
Superb. What's your pet peeve about other people?
I don't like when people say like in the middle of sentences, like I do this, like it's you don't need to have that in there.
Brilliant. Last one.
Yeah.
Last one. Big push. Final one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You've made a difference.
Superb. You have made a difference this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No problem. Any last words?
No.
Superb.